Alrighty, I think with that, we've caught most of the ad break out. So if you're just joining or you didn't have to deal with ads, lucky you. But we will be doing our part 3 of our Jekyll portfolio. Go ahead and actually fix some stuff. Cool. Awesome. So if you hadn't had a chance to check in, go ahead and do that now. I've put the link up on the banner on screen, but let me also get it for you in case you'd like to just copy it from Twitch or YouTube. Oh no, let me not close that tab. Alrighty. So, lots of clicking. Sorry, just trying to find my tabs again. All right. So, I was on the wrong one. Okay, link is shared. Cool. Well, it seems like we're going to have a quiet night, which means that we'll probably actually finish pretty quickly. But for those who have not seen my streams before, I welcome chat interaction, questions, comments, concerns, even like, why are you doing it this way? Just because sometimes I don't know that there's another way to do things, but also it's a chance to learn from different people, whether it's from me or from other hackers in the chat. And so, like I said, we are doing our part 3. So if you happen to join me yesterday or even this morning, we got through a decent amount of stuff, I would say, and then ran into a funny little bug that was introduced by me, where yesterday we talked about how you have to install different things, different ways with regards to getting Ruby, which is what Jekyll is running on. And if you're not familiar with Jekyll, then the basic understanding of Jekyll is that it's a static website generator. So long as you use markdown files, you don't have to really know HTML, although it is definitely a benefit with this. And we're pretty much going to spend today's stream wrapping things up, making sure we're good to go. Let me clear another tab there. And so, like I said, on the first workshop, we did some installation, talked more about what even is Jekyll, why you should use it, played around with the default theme. I had already previously found a theme that I really liked, so we've been working off that for the last workshop and a half. Once we figured out how to get it installed and used, then we, like I said, just played around. Pretty much my goal for that first stream was to show you how I might have gone about remaking a portfolio, especially if I had minimal knowledge. Like, how do I maximize what I can do while reducing some of that time spent debugging, right? And so that pretty much goes over that first one. Jekyll gives you lots of different opportunities as far as themes go. If you want to go ahead and make your own, then feel free. But they do have a lot of themes, so you don't have to put thinking into your design. You just have to put content in. And so this morning, we started filling in a lot of Hacker McHacker's background, showcasing different designs and ways to demonstrate Hacker McHacker's portfolio, recognizing that there's a lot of different ways you can tell people about your abilities, what preferably not to do where applicable. And then we started off with adding our projects where we just did it as a bare bones, added in as Markdown. And then we're like, hey, what if we wanted to not think about what we wrote and just have really nice, really intuitive repositories that have the information we would need such that we can just populate it using the metadata? So we briefly went over this. I did have to skip a bunch of steps because I wasn't able to install the gem correctly, but I am going to revisit this mostly because I goofed. And so I'm going to walk y'all through some of the things that I had already done on my side. So we'll have a little more time explaining using templating, using internal conditionals and whatnot. I think it's like liquid or something is the way they refer to it. But we'll be going over how to get that sorted and good to go so that way we can, in fact, limit repositories. I spent a lot of time debugging today. And then, as you can see, I forgot to use install, so we'll go over that. Then we'll talk about what else you can do with Jekyll. We won't be implementing all of these things because it does require that you create an account. Sometimes you have to pay. There's more than just Discus available as far as commenting goes. I didn't feel like creating a Google Analytics account today. Maybe you might, but it seems fairly intuitive as far as getting it ready. Then adding in social media, images, styling, We'll go over probably most of these in detail, and then we'll talk about doing custom layouts because I never got around to finishing. I did run out of time, unfortunately. But my hope is that we'll be able to push something up. That way we can start talking about custom domain setup and GitHub pages. So we've got a pretty stacked workshop, but depending on how interactive folks are, what questions I get, or how quiet things are, let's say, we might even be done within an hour and a half, I would say. That's not to say that I, want questions to eat up time. I think questions are usually pretty valuable where applicable. Personal questions, not really, but technical questions, I'm more than happy to answer. So with that, I think anyone who was going to join us has, and anyone who has decided to leave us has. So let's go ahead and get into it. Picking up where we left off earlier today. As you can see, I was attempting to run a gem install. I forgot the actual install bit, so we have gem install Jekyll GitHub metadata. So now things are good. We have our metadata. We could now technically get all of our projects. And then let me just also, I believe we did change, yes, we did change the remotes earlier, so we are golden. Now, picking up where we left off, where I had some pre-work done, we're going to reference that and I'll explain as I go because I did make some changes. I got some things working again earlier today where my goal was, how do I make sure that I limit the amount of projects visible? Because I really don't want that many projects visible. Turns out I need to finagle my for loop a bunch and add more limiters. It seems like the limit condition just doesn't seem to work. I also rooted out the issue that we had earlier with regards to where I was trying to get some redirect information where, for example, if you decide to host a GitHub Pages instance of a repository, not so much your username.github.io, but any custom repository after you've made your initial repository. And so that might be more of like a project site that would be a better equivalent. And so I do have one of those for one of my past Global Hack Week projects where I'm like, I would love to see it hosted because it is a static website on GitHub Pages because it's free, and then just reuse, a subdomain that I have to show it in like a try it out kind of link. Seems straightforward. Turns out GitHub metadata does not let you access some of that information. It will tell you whether or not it is a GitHub Pages repository, but it will not pull the CNAME information. It seems like that information is a little out of date, but there is a way around it, being that you can make use of two different approaches. We won't really go over this approach, the data approach, where if you do have custom data, you might create a folder like you do for site and have underscore data, and then you would add in your YAML file with whatever it is that are the key and value pairs that you'd be using in order to swap things out. So for example, maybe I'm like, oh, I know project A, B, and C are going to have C names, and the C names are X, Y, Z, in which case, if the project is in the data file or in the data folder, then replace it. I found a different workaround for the specific intent of what we're doing, where I rebuilt the GitHub.io /repository URL, and that will let you do your redirect because that's what it is redirecting from in the first place, presuming the GitHub Pages is open. So we're going to go over that. Oh gosh, I think I'm going to be yawning for a lot of this stream. It has been a very long day of many, many, many meetings and a lot of debugging. And also, I'm really tired because I've been up since 4 a.m. my time. So I'm a little bit tired today. But right, so we do have our Jekyll metadata, our GitHub metadata sorted out. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our projects. And this is how we originally were displaying things, where we were playing around with the idea of having the title and then what languages it used, or just having an image of the repository if you happen to do custom designed icons, your description and the languages, and then a try it out link. Which is a very manual process, and if you prefer to do it this way, more power to you. One of the earlier hackers did suggest, making cards to display every project, which I thought was a great idea. I did run out of time on that one though, and so we probably won't get to it, but that is something that you can do if you decide that you want to modify the existing theme, which I definitely encourage you to do so, especially if it needs to meet your needs better. Every theme is made differently and for different purposes. So, I mean, either pick a theme that you like that you're willing to retrofit, or pick a theme that does most of what you want, in which case at that point you're just changing like colors and some other stuff, depending on what your preferences are. Cool. And anything else that we need before we get started? Not to my awareness. So, oh gosh, repositories. Did I make that page? Yes, I did. All right. I started a repositories page, but didn't add anything to it. Let's make sure this is good. All right, so our repositories page is going to be what we're now going to use our metadata in, so that way we can showcase the different ways, again, that you can demonstrate your project. And so I'm going to continue with this being a unordered list of projects. I believe currently I don't have it as a list, but I have it separated by like header, which isn't a bad idea, but we'll showcase what those. Actually, I think we'll keep it that way. We'll have it be header based and whatnot. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and escape, and I'm just gonna copy this for future reference. And anytime we're going to do any form of templating or liquid matter, if you will, this is what you'll use to escape the HTML and Markdown files. And so we're going to go ahead and start off with, assigning a variable. We're going to assign recent projects. We only maybe want the first 5 or 10 projects in our repository list. Specifically, with the reasoning behind this is I don't have projects that have a lot of stars, so I can't exactly sort by that, but I can sort by most recent commit, which might better showcase what I'm currently working on, as far as what I've been working on. And ideally, as I keep going, as I make new projects, it will continue to show the most recent pushed things. So in order to access that data, we're going to need site.github.public repositories, such that we can, again, assign things. And again, we are going to be sorting. Sort by pushed at, which is going to give us that lovely information about what is the most recent. And we're going to reverse that list because it will give it to us in chronological order. And that'll be it for that line. And then we do, again, want a for loop. So we need a for project and recent projects using that variable we just created. Then we're going to need a for loop. I'm sorry, we need an if the for loop index. And this is what I was missing earlier to get those conditions for that for loop. If the for loop index is at 5, then we want to break. So basically exit the loop. And then we're going to go ahead and end that if. And formatting, of course. There we go. Looks nice and pretty. And so originally in the demonstration I had this morning, this wasn't on ordered list, but I just said that we wanted to keep that header formatting. So we're going to need 2 markdown headers. I wonder if it's going to let me do it. I actually haven't tested this. That's why partially we're also doing it. And I'm going to need not this, but this, and I want to do project.name. And originally this was a link, but I'm not feeling this, where instead I want to do something like a try it out link, which is what I was trying to do earlier. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But after, do a project description. So a project.description. And then if there is nothing in the description, we want to say no description available, which I don't think is the case for any of my projects. I believe all of my projects have descriptions. Whether or not they are good is a completely separate thing, though. And did I do that wrong? No, I did it fine. Okay. Now comes for, oh goodness, I wasn't kidding when I said I was going to yawn the whole stream. I am truly tired. It has really been a long day. But the thing that we need to do next is start sorting out whether or not whether or not I'm reading the code that I have as reference, and I'm like, something's wrong here. I think we skipped something. What is it that I needed? I did want to check for that. Pages info were name project. I think we only really need if project has pages. If project has pages, and if that is true, then let's do a tag that is going to be this. And what I want is this specific modification. There we go, .login. This is what changed. So instead of going and seeking out a CNAME, which does not work, learned that one today, it does work if you do project.name. Referring to the fact that your username.github.io/repository, presuming it has a GitHub pages, will resolve. And so if you have a custom domain, it will just redirect to the custom domain. And we'll go ahead and prove that once we finish up this. But also I want to add a try it out phrase. And then what else do we need? Oh, I need to end the link tag, which is going to be end here. And we're going to go ahead and do end if. This was just if it had pages, which we did. Oh, I got ahead of myself. I'm going to see if this works. I've made a quick modification to things just to see if it would break. So we're going to test that live. It's fine. Once again, we want that ahref equal to HTTP, and this time we're going to do the GitHub repo, which is going to be project, which is what we had originally when I was demonstrating this work earlier. I'm going to have it be that. Did I close this here? No, I didn't. Shame on me. And then we need a try it out on GitHub, so that way we clarify which ones have a custom domain name and a GitHub Pages instance, and which ones don't. We're going to go ahead and end that if. And then what we had previously was things like the last updated. So we're going to do last updated. And we're going to do project.pushed@, so we can get that information. And if it does not resolve to anything, we get the date, which is parentheses, or not parentheses, %b, %d, and %y. And then we're going to go ahead and close those brackets and close the p tag, but we're not doing that because I want to experiment. And then the other thing I wanted was the stars count, where it's going to be project.stargazers count. So interesting that it has stargazers, but I actually really like that. It's a cute little Easter egg. All right, and we don't need that. I'm going to go ahead and preview this really quick, make sure the markdown is working as I'd like. JK, this is not going to work the way I want because it's kind of forgetting some stuff. Okay. Let's double check. I've assigned recent projects, put them in reverse. I still need to end the for loop. So let's go ahead and do end for and see if we're good here. This is probably going to need some spacing, which is fine. Might be some broken stuff here, but that's what testing is going to show us. And so I do expect this is going to reach a rate limit. So I'm going to go grab the token that I have and run my terminal elsewhere, just because I don't want to release that token into the wild. But we will see. Where is that token actually? I think it's on here. Let's go ahead and pause that. Let's go grab this. So I did talk about generating a token earlier today, which is fairly simple. You only need one permission that you need to enable, which is the public repo access, which is under the repo. And once you've done that, you're pretty much good to go. Let's go ahead and send this. I don't want to think about it too much. And hit enter. All right. Then I need that code. And let me open up a PowerShell instance so I can navigate there. This repositories, and then we're in Lanyon, and then I'm going to go ahead, make sure that I can run things. Okay, perfect. That is in fact working. That is a bit frustrating, but I think it's because I need to. So this is not working the way I thought it would work. Where you're supposed to be able to run the Jekyll GitHub token at the start, but it's not letting me because it's not recognizing the command. Ooh, that is a Google question. I did not consider that. Jekyll, Jekyll GitHub token run with serve on Windows. This is awkward. Jekyll Windows token tutorial, perhaps. That's not working either. Awesome. Why is it not working? What perhaps is the difference? Is it the order? Let us see. Did not think that one through. Didn't realize it was going to be an issue, to be honest. So I'm going to reorder this. Let me go look at the commands that are available for Jekyll. I want to run you with a token. How will you let me do that? Compose, docs, import, build, clean, help, new. That's not very helpful. Unfortunate. Ooh, perhaps. Let us see. Bash. Will you run Jekyll? Probably not. Oh ho ho. Maybe. We shall try it using a mock. I believe it's paste. I just want to get rid of these. And then let's try that. Aha. A workaround. Yes, allow access. Do the thing, Julie. Okay, so what I ended up having to do to get this to work, because for whatever reason, Windows was not going to let me use a token, boo. If you don't have a token, you would be fine. You would just run into rate limits eventually, and the only reason I'm not doing that is I just don't want to deal with that. So because I have Git Bash installed, I was actually able to run the Jekyll's token command. The way to use a token without actually putting it in your files, especially since I'm bouncing around, it's actually very easy. No need to move things around too much. But it did not quite liquid warning. Expected ID found string, specifically here. Description, project. What do you mean you found a string? I forgot. There should be default. Let's see if that should fix our setup. And then the thing that I wanted is to open up our localhost instance. We're going to go ahead and do that. And let's go take a look at repositories. Well, that is not what I expected to happen. What's going on here? What is this? Is this a file I was supposed to ignore? Did I use the wrong? Okay. Project V2. Let's go rename this to Project V2 then, just to make sure we don't have any conflicting issues. Let's go to home. Project V2. It's still... Oh, you know what? I did not change the remotes. Let's just double check for sure. Okay. So what's going on here is that, one, it's weirdly formatted, not a huge fan, but because this is currently pointing to the original repository pools Lanyon, which is the theme that I grabbed, it's pulling information from that, which is very cool, very misrepresented. But let's go investigate what's going on and start to fix it. Where we'll want to, I suppose, then not use these, and we'll just put this in a p tag for now. Same with this. Actually, let's make this a header 2, and then let's refresh this. Let's see. Okay, that's... Why are you flipping out? I'm actually very confused as to why there is weirdness. Perhaps I need to enclose it in a thing. Let's do a div. We're finding some interesting edge cases here. Aha! That fixed it. Good to know. So if you are doing any form of liquid matter, which is what we've been doing for our templating, and we don't want it to have some weird message box styling, we'll have to wrap our generated content in some form of HTML tag. So what I know that we've done is unordered lists in the one that I showed this morning, but I didn't want to do that, so I've wrapped it in a div instead, and that worked out pretty fine. Let's go ahead and change those remotes though. So to change your remote, git remote set, I believe. Let me go pull the command I specifically used. I'm looking for git remote set. There we go. was not with a dash. It was set URL origin. And I'm going to go ahead and link it to a repository that I already have set up ahead of time that this is going to get pushed to. So this will be jportfolio.git. And then let's go check git remote-v. And now things are now updated to do fetch and push at that repository. And let's go ahead and refresh. Cool. That did not work. So we're going to go ahead and pause that server. Run that server again such that it will properly recollect information from the repository. So you can see, as you can see, it's rebuilding right now. So of course this is going to not work as intended. Once it's done building, we'll take another look and see if it's working then. We might actually be done within the hour at this rate, which is fine. I mean, still building. Still building. All right. Let's take a look. By this point, it should be all right. Now it is showing information from my user because it's pulling from my remote repository. So it's telling me, all right, it's a Jekyll variant. When it was last updated, you can see that some things didn't quite work the way they were supposed to. So let's go ahead and go and fix that. This is a weird extra thing. Let's go ahead and add paragraph tags to each of that. So that way we can ensure that things are properly spaced. Voila, much better, much easier to look at. It looks very similar to what we have in our, what's it called? Gosh, our originally written projects tab from earlier. But now it is auto-generated from our own repository metadata. So let this be a lesson that you too could make a better description for your portfolio, a better title, and to better showcase what work you've done and when. So the next question is, as you can see, there's this try it out on GitHub link, which should open up our JPortfolio, which didn't quite work. Looks like I forgot a colon in those links, so let's go fix those. No, I did. I'm actually not sure why that's not working. Let's go ahead and see what's up. I have anchor tag, href, perfect. And then we have http, : / then we have project. This is access. Here we go. We didn't need the HTML URL on that one. And let's go ahead and try it again. There we go. Okay, so right now the portfolio is empty. Yay! So that part works. And then since we have, again, that different variation, let's make sure that it redirects, which it absolutely does. We love to see it. So now we have a functioning metadata portfolio, or a metadata populated portfolio. Hooray! Does it look good? No, it doesn't. Formatting would certainly help here, as well as potentially making these into individual cards that you could lay out on the table of some sort, or a grid layout. That might be a future thing to consider. Wouldn't hurt. But let's see what else we can do in what we have remaining. So we have now officially done our top 5 projects. I changed the list there so we can finish up that from part 2. We fixed up that install. Let's go talk about social media. There is a little bit of extra work if you choose to use font awesome icons, being that you do need to create your own kit so you can get your own URL or script, or basically a kit, way to reference the icons that you're planning on using. And then we also, I believe we already started with updating that sidebar. So We're going to go ahead and come back to that so we can add some more things to it. Specifically, this part here is fine, but we want to add perhaps more sidebar items to showcase the social media links that we might want. And this will get into our, what's it called? That YAML file with social media stuff, that data file. So let's go ahead. Let's go create new file. I'm sorry, new folder first. New folder. We're going to name it _data. I'm going to add a new file and we're going to say socialmedia.yaml. Cool. And so what this is going to look like is you're going to have some key value. So let's say it's email. Tab in a little bit. We're going to give it your ID, which would be email@email.com. Then we would have something like our href, which is going to be a mail to. Looks like Copilot is starting to help me out, but not quite. It's doing actually a garbage job. Title. Now you give me this. Oh my goodness. Copilot, come on. You know how to work. Icon. There we go. And then we want Twitter, for example. Beautiful. Now we're getting somewhere. And then GitHub. Beautiful. And that href is going to be something like .com, which would be, of course, your GitHub at that point. We're going to give it the title, and we're going to give it, let's make them all square, actually. Alrighty, so that's square. These are using Font Awesome, so we will have to do a little bit of extra work to ensure that we can use these, which we'll get to in just a moment. I want to talk more about this data file. So this data social media, well, first there's the data folder, which holds any form of YAML with our key values, kind of like a JSON object, that has information that we might want to iterate over. Another place to consider adding things to your data folder is probably maybe your project information that isn't necessarily grabbed by GitHub metadata. So as long as you have the repository name or a link or some key identifier that makes sense. Oh, goodness. You would be able to cross-reference and access it to improve your experience pretty much with Jekyll. Most of what I've seen has generally been social media, projects, skills and interests, and other things that maybe are in a repetitive format. You might even be able to do your personal experience, where it might be what type of experience it falls under, as well as what the title was, the years of employment, and so on and so forth. And that might make for an easier way of generating your experience and sorting it and any other information that you might need to manipulate with it. So that's another point to consider, because originally for our work experience, originally we'd done something like, oh, we can separate it by specific careers and the different sub points that we've done depending on the type of career that we've decided to pursue, and different ways of demonstrating the time frame in which we did things, which at the end of the day you should very much be consistent with. Alrighty, and then that was just a brief pivot. Where is the next thing that I need? Ah, yes, that's right. So something I am not showing is I already created a kit on Font Awesome in order to get use of these specific icons for social media, which we'll be using shortly. So, gosh, while we're not walking through how to create those, I pretty much followed the free plan on Font Awesome, created a brand new kit, got my URL, and then that was it. So I do have that URL somewhere here. And so for me, it was given to me in a script. And so we're going to go ahead and I've just copied that. So where is it? It's under default, I believe. Where is script? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add my script here. Yes, that's fine. And then we are pretty much done with editing that default. And then we want to go back to that sidebar so we can start adding in information about our social media icons. Goodness. So I'm going to try something different, where originally I had put it into an existing sidebar item, and I think I'm going to give them their own sidebar items or slew of sidebar items, where specifically I'm going to have to do that escape again to do some liquid matter. I'm going to have to just copy that, and we're going to go ahead and do if site data social media. And so if there is social media in our data, then we can go ahead and start doing things. And so I'm going to do another div ID is equal to social media. And then we want to do style is equal to text dash align center. Oops, forgot to close that. And then, all right, for network insight data social media, add a link to the URL, do the title, and add the classes. Let's see what it gives us. Oh, now there's options. Neat. What's the extra class you've done? Oh, no. I was looking at that. Oh, ew. Wait, I wanted to see class social media icon. Should be the preview again so I can edit it. Come on, Copilot. Let's do this, and let's see what happens. I don't expect this to work very well, but here we are. You want to go here, go to sidebar, and as you can see, it's not working. Cool. Let's do it the way I had intended to do it and not use Copilot for this. So I'm going to assign social media is equal to site data social media, and then since we've created that small local variable, we're going to do a for loop, and we're going to say for entry in small social media. Then we're going to go ahead and do tab, and we're going to say assign key is equal to entry or first, and then I'm going to do if key value dot ID, then let's do an end if so we don't forget, and an end for so we don't forget. And let's go add this body right here. We're going to add an href to our social media reference. Remember those links that we had earlier? It's going to come into play here. So we have s key.href. And again, what I'm looking at is my laptop because I worked on this earlier painstakingly to figure out what do I need? What's going on? Key.id, and that should be good. And then we need a title. I always do this. Okay, and then we need sm key.title. We're going to close that. We're going to add italicized class. And then we're going to say sm key and then .fa icon because we need to add that. And then we have a close on the I, close on the A, and we should technically. Perhaps. Oh, I might need to rebuild this. Let us rebuild. If tag was never closed. Oh, I didn't. Okay, then. Make it make sense, but okay. And if there's an error message that for some reason got copied. Go figure. So I've gone and restarted that server. It's just a long bit waiting for it to build. That is the downside of Jekyll, as I mentioned earlier. It just takes a bit to build when you've added more and more things in. And once I added in the call to the metadata, things just jumped up in build time. And that's okay. Given that I don't plan to be updating this frequently, and depending on what your uses might be, it may not be a good fit for you because you do have to take a while to build things. But that's again what pushing automations, etc. for. So maybe that's something you consider. Okay, it says it should be done building. So let's refresh. And it's not showing me my, gosh, it's not showing me these. I think the way I had, let me make sure I have it. Sidebar item if site.data social. Refresh. Still nothing. Okay, well, what other issues do I have? We have if site.data.social media. Cool. Then we have the div for social media and the text line. Then we have assign social media to social media. And then for entry in social media, assign key. And then ID, if it exists, get a reference to smkey.href. And then whatever the ID is, it's got a space for formatting. Then we have title, which is going to be equal to key.title. Straightforward. Then we have I class FA, and then we have smkey.fa icon. That seems fine. And then we end the if, and we end the for, we close the diff, and we end the last if. Huh. Not quite sure why you're not happy with me, but let's go ahead and delete that. But again, this is why we were testing it to see if it would let me. So let's put you here and see if you will work now. Perhaps still not. Alrighty. Let us investigate a little more. You know what I didn't do? I need to move something really quick. This was under. Oh, goodness. I know why it's not working. I introduced some typos. Let's go fix that really fast. And also shift that up there. That still not working. What happened? I am confused. Oh, I am not sure why this is suddenly not working. Unless I forgot an import somewhere, which is entirely possible. Paste that in, and then Did I change anything? Sidebar projects, social media, index, head should not have been updated or changed. Let us see if this will work. I'm on the wrong one, perhaps. Oh, perhaps that's why. Maybe it was supposed to go there. No. What? What happened? I just want icons to work. Wow, I got it working on my other stuff, and that's frustrating. All right, let's go see what perhaps happened. I'm so confused because things were going rather swimmingly, to be honest. And now they're not. And I don't know why. All right, well, this one is in the wrong spot. And then the thing that I want is index.html. And I need to jump up to not that. Where are you from? I guess it is Insight. Boggles the mind. Except it is in there. And then there is this and copy that under this. Yeah, I have questions now. How the heck? Things are technically the same now. And this should kind of work. What did I goof on? All right, let's roll through that one more time. This is after the navigation. Sidebar item. If site.data.social-media. Do the thing. Assign SM. Site data social media. For each entry in social media, assign a key, entry or first. If there is a key that has an ID, add in a reference tag that has a close. Have an href tag that is going to be quotation with the href, and then the ID. Then we have the title, which just takes the title. And then we have our iClass and our icons. Perhaps it was a social media YAML file. It's just email, ID, href, title. That would do it. This is what I get for letting Copilot work for me. One more try. It was a simple typo. Copilot, why do you do this to me? Copilot always messes with my stuff. We love that. But now we have our nice little icons. They are centered. They are a tad small. That would be a CSS fix, I would expect. I frankly didn't care. It's not very accessible of me. I should care, but for the purposes of getting this done, I don't care. That was a little bit frustrating. Okay, so we've added icons. And let's talk about these two before we get into images and talking more about styling and CSS and custom layouts. And then we'll wrap up with our GitHub pages. So we're actually doing pretty good on time. So let's say you have a blog-focused portfolio or that you want to be very involved with whoever your readers might be, particularly if you want to get comments. There are a number of ways, more than just what I've listed here, to integrate comments and saving comments to your portfolio. So the one that I found first was Discus, but there are a couple other things out there. Specifically, I believe there are things like Static Man, and these are different libraries of ranging freeness. I believe Discus and Static Man have free access, but there is also something called Talkyard, which is not free. And then what else did I find? There is a variation that you can use GitHub comments. Particularly on a specific file or repository, which provided a button would allow you to post the comment directly onto GitHub. And so there's a neat little blog post that somebody made where you can just go ahead and Google Jekyll GitHub comments and see if you can find DC25's GitHub IO page that talks more about how you can use comments from a GitHub issue in order to post a comment on someone's document. There are a number of extra things you'll have to set up, but this is the most GitHub inclusive approach, I would say. The most common thing would be Discus. Some caveats here to consider being that people found that there were some privacy things that they disagreed with, or they were non-existent, if I'm correct. Discus is, if you're willing to forego things that you might prefer or care about, Discus might be it. Static Man is another alternative. I don't know too much about that, but I know for Talkyard, like I said, it is not free, but it is managed by one individual. So that could be something that you might consider, particularly as you move on and get paid for your work. But yes, this will allow you to have comments that are saved on your blog posts. Now you no longer have to go to Medium or other sites. You can just host it on your own, provided you have viewership. So we'll go ahead and comment that. Then we have Google Analytics. And so let me go ahead and show you something really quickly. I believe, where was that file? Oh, goodness. Cool. So under head.html, which is under the includes folder, you're going to see this condition for if cite Google Analytics ID, and then a quick script. And so they've actually made this a little bit easier for you by it's already included in the Lanyon template, which is awesome. But it does require that you have an Analytics ID, which if we go back to our config, let's go see where that is. My brain is so tired. No more late night streams for me, I think. Particularly not when I've been awake for a very long time. What was I looking for again? The YAML file. There it is. I don't know why it is I keep just scrolling over yellow today. So you have this custom vars section where the Google Analytics ID is some commented out value. So the moment you have a valid Google Analytics ID, you can start to collect information about how people are interacting with your site, which again, this theme makes it very nice and easy to go ahead and do so. We love that. But the only reason I didn't do it is it made me create accounts, and I didn't feel like creating an account today, mostly because I'd like to look into it more and see if it's something that I would be curious about. But if that is something you're curious about, particularly with your blog posts, again, wanting to start capturing viewership, especially if you wanted to add to your post information such as how many people have seen it, how many people have interacted with it, how many people have commented on it, and so on and so forth, that might be something to consider. All right, we've talked about commenting, we've talked about Google Analytics, we've talked about social media. Let's talk a little bit about styling, and that gets into custom CSS, choosing your theme, and then of course adding an image to the sidebar. But I do want to do a quick pause and see, are there any questions? I'll give us a couple minutes on that one, so that way if there is anybody who has a question that they have time to type. It's going to just be really awkward silence in the meantime, which is totally fine. I can yawn some more. Oh, gosh, I'm ready for sleep. I think most of y'all are just waking up. Alrighty, gonna give it one more minute on if there's any questions. And then I'll go ahead and move on, but you are welcome to drop any questions as they come up in the chat. I'm still looking over and checking to see if there's any new things. Okay, so custom CSS and choosing themes. So I picked Lanyon because it was one of the few themes that I had run across that I actually liked, that also gave options of different colors, which was very nice, and that they already had some planned themes, which meant I didn't have to do too much adjustment. But let's say I did not like what Lanyon was giving me or their themes, in which case, is there an easier way to format the MD files to HTML that can be read by Jekyll? My understanding is that as long as you use majority markdown, you're fine. If you wanted to weave in HTML, you very much could, but you are not obligated to. You just kind of cut off some of the ability to do some things, such as using the loops and conditionals and other liquid matter that is associated with it. Yeah, I'd say there's nothing easier. I actually think we might be wrapping up this stream shortly because I kind of feel sick. So as far as styling goes, you can go ahead and go into this public folder, this CSS, and you can edit your CSS here in this large file. So if you wanted to change themes, colors, etc., this is your one-stop shop to do so. And custom layouts, this is over here, where you would go into your defaults. Let's say you had a different page or different layout that you wanted things to use. This is where you would go ahead and create your own variations depending on what you're hoping to do with it. So as you can see, posts have their own content. Maybe you might want to create a page per project or something else. Alrighty, yeah, I think I'm going to have to cut the stream early today. I'm so sorry, folks, but I am very much not feeling good. On top of being exhausted. So I am so sorry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna go be sick. Thank you very much for joining me. So sorry about cutting this off, but have a good night and enjoy the rest of your Global Hack Week this week, especially because it ends tomorrow. So get your challenges in, all that stuff. Yeah, so sorry, folks. I'm like, dinner is not agreeing with me. So gonna head out while I am still able to save face. Goodbye.